summer, periodically when I preach, we're doing the Love Languages Institute. And this week, our love language is called quality time. So first, kind of just by a show of hands, it's going to be, are you more this or more that? Do you spend more quality time looking intently into the eyes of your friends and family while you share a meaningful conversation? Or do you spend more of your time staring intently at your phone, reader, book, magazine, TV, and spending some more quality time with things that can't love you back? Okay. How many people spend more time with family gazing intently? A few. How many of us might lean more towards spending more time gazing intently at our stuff? Okay. It's okay. Because I'm there. I'm noticing that not only can we not love the ones we're with when we're together, a lot of times we're all spending time even at restaurants with, checking our phone to see what the messages are from the people that aren't even there to love us then. Kathy told me a story about some of her grandchildren. They were over at a house, and they were in separate rooms, and they noticed they were texting each other. Same house, but instead of actually being together and spending time together, they were texting each other. And I thought, well, that's a crazy idea. So at their house, when they come to visit Grandma Kathy, she says, okay, here's the basket. Everybody put your electronics right here, because we're going to spend quality time together. I saw another great idea for spending quality time with your friends. When they went out to dinner with friends, everybody had to take their phone and put it in a stack, face down in the middle of the table. First person who checks their messages pays for dinner. I thought, that's a great idea. There are lots of times when, one of our friends' family, parent, child, comes into the room and they're excited about something. And ask poor Dave, I'm always excited about something. I want to tell him about something. But when our friends and partners, parents, children, they come in and they want to tell you something. You say, wait a minute, I'm reading this, I'm listening to this pod, I'm watching this show. Does that feel like love? When you're on the other end of it, when you come in and you're excited and they say, just a minute, doesn't feel like love. This past few months, I've been reading a series of books called The 5 Languages of Love. It's by Gary Chapman. I highly recommend it. They have books for everything: how to love your adult child, how to show love to your children, your spouse, your friends, at work. And it just makes sense. So he says there are about 5 different ways people receive and show love. And it's like a language. Each person has one of those ways that feels most comfortable to them. So different people, different approach. So I'm going to review them real quick. Last week we talked about words of affirmation. Some people show love by appreciating other people, appreciating things and places. They just notice and they're really appreciative. So when they feel love, it's when other people say things about them or their kids or whatever that appreciate them. When they hear that word of affirmation, that's good, they feel loved. Second one is quality time. Some people show that they love you when they spend time with you. And of course, then that kind of means you tend to like the thing that you use to show love. They feel loved when you lay the phone down or put down the book or the newspaper and just spend time with them, take a walk. That's how they feel loved. So today we're going to focus more on that. But just as a preview for later in the summer, the third language of love is gifts. Some people show love by giving you things, little things. They come back from a vacation, they bring you a little something. They go for a walk on the beach, they bring you a feather. They see a great flower in the yard, they bring it to you. It's a gift. It doesn't have to be diamonds, it's just something that expresses their love. So then, how might they feel loved? When you bring them a little something. So gifts, that's another language of love. Number 4 is my language of love, acts of service. When I want to show you that I love you, I try and do something for you. Can I do that? Can I help you? And of course, when I feel loved, one of the ways is when people say, let me help you with that. I can help you do that chore. I can take over that little task for you. And I think, wow, they really care about me. So the final one is physical touch. talking any kind of physical. You know that friend when they come and they talk to you, they sit right next to you. You can feel them. They're warm. They pat you on pat your arm. They scratch your back. Kids who love to be tickled, or they just always, even if it's that annoying kid who trips people and knocks their, it's because they just want to touch them because that's how they feel loved. So they're expressing that in their own language. So like all languages, we're not all going to speak the same one. So with the people you love, parents, friends, family, children, strangers, if you can learn what it is that makes them feel loved, you'll have a better chance of talking to them in a language they understand. So Jesus, our example from Scripture, he knew the importance of spending quality time with people. I think one of the most unusual conversations in the Bible is Jesus breaking all the rules and taking time to talk to a Samaritan woman. Now, he doesn't just ask her for a drink of water. He could have done that. They were at the well. He takes a long talk with her. And they talk about things that we don't always want to talk about because they're deep. Family, politics, religion. And he's not running her down. In fact, he encourages her. He tells her, you are not your mistakes. You are not all the things that have happened to you. He lifts her up and he spends time with her one-on-one, human being to human being. That's what quality time looks like. And then Jesus also knew that you can't always, in a big crowd, experience quality time. So in the verse that Lori read, Jesus says, come away with me to a quiet place. He knows that sometimes you just have to get away and spend time where you can really hear each other. I think of little Zacchaeus because I've always been short, so I love the story of Zacchaeus. Jesus finds him in the middle of a crowd. All those people yucking and talking, thinking Jesus is great. And all of a sudden, he focuses in and says, Zacchaeus, come here. I want to spend time with you today. And that had to make Zacchaeus feel special and loved. So one of the things that Gary Chapman suggests in his book that we can do to help people experience quality time is to focus our attention on them. Just like Jesus focusing his attention on Zacchaeus there, we need to focus on the people that we're with. So you have a little kid. Any of you have grandkids? Oh, yeah. Any of you have kids? All right. So you're rolling a ball on the floor with the 2-year-old, right? Back and forth. This is quality time. It's focused. Nobody else is interrupting. And that kid feels special. If that's their language of love. If quality time is their language of love, they feel special. If, however, somebody says, oh, there's a call for you, and you put it on your hand, and you're still, oh, yeah, and you, oop. If that child's language of love is quality time, all of a sudden, they don't feel as loved anymore. They don't feel as important because whoever came on that phone call was more important than they were. So let's just say a friend stops by to visit you while you're reading your emails. What does Gary say to? Stop reading your email. Now I'm guilty. I'm as guilty of this as the next person. I'll be talking on the phone with my mom, checking out my email, and I'm not focused. And then I have to say, what did you say? So I'm going to work on focusing more during this next few months. He says the most important thing you can give to anyone is your attention. It's your time. It's something you never get back. It is the most precious thing you can. If your friend or partner comes into the room and wants to tell you about their day, if your child comes into the room and wants to tell you about their day, he says, turn off the TV, put your paper down, look into their eyes, and listen. Willingness to be present is the present that you give me. I will be present with you instead of thinking about other places I could be. So in the story of Mary and Martha that I read, Mary focuses on Jesus. It said she hangs on every word that he said. And Jesus seems to really appreciate that about her. She's spending quality time listening to him, soaking it in. And he knows she's choosing not to be distracted by other things. And I think he loves her for that. Another suggestion Gary gives is to spend quality time in deep and meaningful conversation. That's hard for some of us. I know personally when I go visit my family, a lot of times I think, I just don't want to get into any deep and meaningful conversation. I'm tired. But he says, take the time. Your relationships, that is your life. That's how you show love for them. So I'm going to call my mom and I'm going to not be reading my email. I'm going to give her some quality conversation. We also have to learn to share our thoughts and our feelings and our experiences with people. And that can be scary. But if their language of love is quality time and you open up to them, they're going to feel loved. Now, I think words of forgiveness, and we're all going to need them. Anybody ever got mad at anybody they love? Okay, that's all of us. Even words of forgiveness need this kind of approach. We need to take quiet time away from other people to just talk about, this is how I see what happened, this is how I feel. Notice I didn't say, this is how you made me feel. Just, this is what happened, and this is how I feel. Because our goal is to try and understand each other. Now, Peter and Jesus, they were very tight. After the resurrection, Jesus takes Peter to the side to talk with him a little bit. He knows that Peter's feeling pretty bad about the whole, denying 3 times, running away part. But Jesus wants to give him a chance to say, I love you. Now, Jesus doesn't openly criticize him. Jesus doesn't bring up what happened. Jesus does not require that Peter grovel and beg for forgiveness. No, he just wants to let Peter know, you still matter to me. You are not your mistakes. You are important to me. He just says, if you love me, I'm going to need you to take care of my people. And even those hard conversations, when we have that chance to make amends, that's quality time. That is saying, I love you enough to make that relationship right. I think it deepens us, as long as it's done kindness and compassion and love. So, if any of you know someone who has quality time that really seeks to just have your individual attention, and that's their love language, start getting comfortable with recognizing what your emotions are. About thinking about what happened during your day. Because how many times you say, how was your day? It's fine. Same old. Because you haven't really thought about it. So it's recommended in this book that you actually say a little exercise. Okay, in the past 3 hours, what have I experienced and how did I feel? A lot of us don't even know how we feel because we don't think about it. So I was thinking, okay, what might have happened to me this morning? I was tailgated on the way to church. That made me feel kind of anxious. That wasn't good. Then when I practiced the new verses to the song, that kind of made me feel proud and happy and accomplished because it sounded pretty good. Let's see. I had friends who showed up to church. People who wanted to sit together, and that made me feel that there's a lot of love here. So I felt love this morning. So he said, listen for how people are feeling. Be aware of how you're feeling so you can share more deeply with them. He gave an example in his book. It was a husband and a wife, but it could have been a friend, a parent, anybody. Okay, so imagine this. Every night, she talks to him about her problems at work. And he tells her, you confront the situation, you talk to your supervisor, and you stand up for yourself. Well, the next night she comes home from work and she talks about what a miserable day she had at work. Well, did you do what I told you to do? That would fix the problem? And of course she hasn't. That is not her way of living in the world. And finally this husband says, you know what? If you're not going to take my advice and do what I tell you, I don't want to hear anymore about your problems at work. Of course, in the story, he's talking to Gary about how he realizes now her love language was quality time. She didn't want his advice. And in fact, she's no longer his wife. Because he wasn't working on learning her love language. When a person talks about struggles, a lot of times, in this case, what she wanted was sympathy, someone to listen, someone to understand that she was hurt, what she was feeling, that she was under stress and pressure. What he reminded the dude of is she didn't ask for advice, did she? She wasn't looking for advice. She She just wanted someone to spend time listening to her and to care about her. And I don't know about you, I'm a fix-it girl. If somebody tells me something's going on, I'm thinking, what can I do to fix it? I feel anxious, and I want to fix it. But what I realized by looking at languages of love is sometimes they don't want you to fix it. They just want you to care. So we have to remember that our relationships with our kids, parents, partners, friends, everybody, are relationships, not problems to be solved or projects to fix up. They're just about love. So we have to use our 2 ears. My mom would remind me sometime we've been given 1 mouth and 2 ears, so we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk. I'm still working on that. So, he says, good listeners maintain eye contact with the person. They set aside their distractions. They're listening for feelings, how the other person feels, observing their body language, because if they say, I'm just fine, take a pretty good hint from the crossed arms and the furrowed brow that they don't mean that. Listen to their body language. And finally, and perhaps more importantly, something I really need to work on, so you can help me over the course of the summer, refuse to interrupt people. Research shows that the average person spends 17 seconds listening before they interrupt and insert their own ideas. Oh, this runs in my family. I think it's genetic. So you can help me work on that too. Refuse to interrupt people. It says our goal in these relationships is to discover the other person's thoughts and feelings. And our objective is not to defend ourselves or set someone else straight. It's just to understand the other person. Ever had somebody say about their partner or friend, I wish I knew what they were thinking? I've heard that a few times. So we're going to work this next week on sharing your emotions. I know when I was a little kid, I heard kids getting criticized for sharing emotions. Nice girls don't get mad. Big boys don't cry. You're just a little too happy. You need to tone it down, girlfriend. You seem awfully proud of yourself. You could get a big head. So as kids, we were kind of taught to not share how we were feeling because we were afraid we might get criticized about it. But one of the things about quality time, if that's your friend's language of love, you've got to be able to share how you're feeling with them. Jesus valued the love and support of his friends. He took quality time with people. He had a small group of friends that he felt he could really share with and trust them with his emotions. Now, these are the people that I think he loved and trusted the most. If you were a little kid, you might have heard the song, Peter, James, and John. You see Peter, James, and John at the important events in Jesus' life. When he gets transfigured, when the glory of God shows on Jesus and shows that Jesus is part of God, those are the friends he has up there on the mountain to share in that joy with him. And then again, same 3 people, Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus knew he was going to be struggling with grief, with betrayal. So he brings his 3 closest friends to back him up, to stand with him in that time. So if you have that kind of friend that can be with you when you're really happy and can be with you when you are really at the bottom, treasure that person. Invest time in that person. Give them a little nudge. That's cute. I love that. Just let them know you appreciate that they support you. If that happens to be your partner or your friend or your child, you're doubly blessed to have that person that you can trust with your true self. Now, Gary, the guy who writes the books, which I'm going to try and get a copy of down in the library, says he likes to ask people, what makes you feel the most loved? One of his guys said, I feel the most loved when we do stuff together. Stuff I like, stuff she likes, and it's like we talk more, and it's almost like we're dating again, and I feel really loved. So quality time, people, if that's their language of love, you can do any kind of activity with them as long as they know you're doing it just to show love for them. Now, does your partner always love to do exactly the same thing that you love to do? Does your friend love to do the same thing that you love to do? My partner likes to spend hours in bookstores. I'm okay. okay with that. I like to watch Disney movies. It's okay with that. But we know when we spend that time with that person doing the thing they love, that means that you really love them. I think you get extra points if it's something that isn't your favorite thing to do. Being with them when they're experiencing joy brings us joy. And I think that's when we're making some memories together. These are the things that in your assisted living years, you will look back on. You will say to your friend, do you remember that time when we shopped at every thrift store on the coast? That was a great day. I'm so glad you're my best friend forever. You have made my life better just by being part of it. You got to make time for those moments. Taking a whole day to shop thrift stores took time, didn't it? It did, but you made this amazing memory. Now, does it mean you're going to have to give up some of your individual activities? Well, maybe if you're making time for somebody else. Does it mean you're going to do things that you don't necessarily find to be your favorite? Probably. But if you love that person and their love language is quality time, it's going to be so worth it. What are you going to get out of it? The pleasure of seeing that person know that you love them. The joy of knowing that you have learned how to speak their love language fluently. And I think when people feel loved and secure, our relationships blossom because we've taken the time to talk to them in a way that they understand. Now, because I used to be a teacher, every time I preach, you get a challenge for the week. So, your challenge for this week is to identify some one person who is for you what Peter, James, John, and Mary were for Jesus. That person that you can trust with your true self. And I want you to make it a point to spend quality time with them this week. Doesn't matter what you do, just no distractions, emotionally connected, totally focused. As long as you do it together to show how much you care about each other. Jesus said, this is my commandment, that you love one another, that your joy may be full. Love each other as I have loved you. This is how people will know that you are my disciples, by your love.